Hi, and welcome back to insidetracks.co.uk, the website, YouTube channel, and newsletter that tries to help you trade smarter, give you the information you need, not to make any mistakes, and to maybe have an edge on others who are trading on Betfair, so that you can make some money. If you want to like this video, that'd be great. Subscribe and you can get any new videos that I do straight to your email address, or straight notified of it, and you become a subscriber. If you've been happy enough to like what I do and it would help me make some more, then become a patron with the little I button in the right hand corner. So without further ado, obviously you're here because you're trading Betfair. You may or may not know that Betfair has been getting something wrong really since the start, and they don't really want to put it right. They could, but they don't want to. It would be quite difficult to put right, but they are getting something entirely wrong, and I'm going to tell you what it is so that you can take it into account and make sure that you don't get fooled by it. So let's have a quick look at what I'm talking about. So it seems appropriate that I should show you what I'm talking about on Derby Day. It's Saturday, the 5th of June. It's 11:47 in the morning, and the Derby is on this afternoon at 4:30. Now, what I'm going to show you is that these charts, the Betfair charts, can be very misleading. So let me show you why that might be the case. So here we have the Derby, and we're looking at currently the price of Hurricane Lane, and as you can see, this was probably about what time would that be when it went on when it first went up on Betfair? Probably yesterday morning, something like that. The first price that was quoted will be at 12. So someone has managed to get a pound or two on at 12. And during yesterday afternoon, this has been yesterday afternoon, towards the evening, that's what's happened to the price. So if you looked at it yesterday, the whole chart would show you that. So that would be in the whole chart. Now it's taking up only about what's that, about a fifth. So if you actually were looking at this chart yesterday evening, you would have seen this big drop down to there, and that would have been on the whole chart, and the bottom line there would have been a matter of hours. Actually, then this morning, if you looked at it, you would have seen the whole chart would have shown you something like that, and you'd see that there's a bit of money coming in. On a normal race day, you wouldn't have £1 million on the race. I'm showing you this because actually there's obviously more liquidity to the Derby. £1 million is probably 2.5 times what goes on to a normal race. A normal race probably gets 400,000 put onto it. And as I repeatedly say to anybody who's watched my videos, about 80% of all the money that's going to go onto a race will go onto it in the last 10 minutes or so, with about 50% of all the money going on in the last 5 minutes. So £1 million at this point is a huge amount. Normally at this time of the morning on a 4:30 in the afternoon race, there may be 20,000, something like that. So it's a huge amount more on the Derby, which is good because we'll get a bit more liquidity, and I can show you what I'm talking about. So so we got £1 million on. And we're now moved on, and so this decline, if you'd seen that yesterday evening, you thought it was a massive decline. It would be right across this chart. Then you watched it this morning, you'd seen it gone down to here and then come back up a bit. So that's what you'd been seeing, and now we're seeing some stability at around about, well, what's that? Between 7 and 8. We're seeing some stability. It's come down a bit more during the morning, and now there's a bit of money actually coming in, which is clearly pushing the price back out from 7 to 8. So what it's going to do in the future, we don't know. But what does that chart kind of show you? It shows you that there's some support for a Hurricane Lane. There's been £150,000 put on the horse. Again, something you'll see in other videos is talking about overweighting and underweighting. How do you tell whether it's overweighted or underweighted? You multiply this price here, which was 8 a minute ago. So let's take 8. 8 times 150 is 1.2. So in fact, Hurricane Lane has had slightly more money, because that's 1.2 is bigger than the total on the market. So so therefore it's slightly overweighted. So there's a bit more money, a bit more interest in Hurricane Lane than you would expect from its price, and it's coming in. So there's some, basically what reading this chart at the moment tells me is there's some support for Hurricane Lane, and there's more interest in the horse than you might expect. Now, what I'm going to show you is why does Betfair get it wrong, and I'm going to do some time lapse photography now. So I'm going to show you this chart as it develops hour by hour during the day up to the off, and you'll see how this chart develops and why it can be really quite misleading. So we'll come back to, you'll see in the next 12 or so seconds, or maybe a bit longer, the chart changing. Okay, so we're just a bit more than 1 hour ahead, and we can see that we were around about here an hour ago. So that's about an hour's worth there. And we can see that actually the horse has pretty much leveled out, and could be showing to be quite a nice little scalping opportunity here, where you can see that it sits somewhere between 7.8 and 7.6. So you could fairly confidently be laying at 7.6 and backing at 7.8 and making a little bit of money here in the last hour. And again, there's some liquidity, so you wouldn't be doing this on a normal day because the liquidity wouldn't be there, but with Derby, there's quite a lot of liquidity. And we can say 7.6 times 7.6 times 168. Check that on my calculator. Equals 1.27. Actually, in the last hour, we've seen there's been less interest than perhaps you had earlier on. So you can see that leveling out is now less interest with less money going on. So that's what we're learning as we're going through, and I'll be back in another hour to show you how this is progressing. Here we are. We're 1 hour ahead, 2:39, 2 hours before the event, and I think you can see that actually it's been incredibly stable. Really, the last 2 hours, you can see, and apart from a little tiny blip up to 8 where it's currently sat, this would be, you know, your perfect scalp, because you're getting money coming in, which being matched pretty much on a level. So yeah, we'd have been scalping for the last hour and made a decent amount of money out of this. Actually made 0.2 pretty much every time it does it. There's some good liquidity, as I said. Once again, 7.8 times 185 shows that it's now an evenly weighted. It's not overweighted. You can see that the amount of money coming in is relatively okay. That would be good money on a normal day. So let's come back to it again in an hour's time. Right now we're 3:20, which is an hour and 10 minutes before the start of the race. And we can see that, again, little money's come in. We started off a couple of hours ago back here. We've seen very stable but slight drift. Again, perfect scalping chart this, making significant money, just doing, you know, 0.2s and so on. But actually, we are seeing this horse having sort of an average interest. 7 times 200 is 1,400. So sorry, 1,400,000. So you can see that this is now no longer an overweighted horse. So during this period, there was more money coming for this horse than probably should be compared to its price. So therefore, it came in, and now we've seen that it's now slightly underweighted from being overweighted, and it's not surprising, therefore, that we're seeing a slight drift. And as long as that continues, we'll see the drift continue. We'll come back to it in about 20 minutes and see where we are then. Okay, we're another 20 or so minutes on. I'm doing it more frequently now because you can start seeing that we started round about here. This is the last 2.5, 3 hours, and that was the previous 24 hours. So you can see that the chart is becoming concertinaed. You see we had this flat bit here, and as I said before, it's now an underweighted horse, and it's beginning to drift slightly. So again, this is quite a nice horse. It's fairly stable, drifting slightly. So perfect horse really to be scalping at the moment. But we'll come back to it again in another 20 minutes. Okay, we're back again. 4:02. It's just less than half an hour to the off, and we can see that this steady drift, it's really gone from just under 7 to now 7.4. So very, very steady drift over the last 3.5, nearly 4 hours now. And the money's coming in now. It's coming in, as you can see here. If you don't know, that's where you look for the money. And you can see it's coming in at 1,000 every 5 seconds. 1,000 every 5 seconds. 2 million now on. So as we get towards the off, and as I said, from 10 minutes, we'll see about another 80% come on. So my prediction, I suppose, will be, I don't know, somewhere around about 10 million perhaps will be on this, maybe a bit more at the moment. Yeah, if it's 80%, so that'll be 10 million now. Yeah, maybe a bit more than 10 million, maybe 12, 13 million, I would think. So you can see that here now is the morning, and this bit of the chart here. We started out about here, and that was at in late morning. So all that bit there is now the morning and the previous day. And as we said, if you started out on the chart this last night and you saw this bit, that would be in your whole chart. Now it's what, a little bit more than 10% of the chart. So what we're seeing is that the chart is concertining, but we'll come back to this again in another 10, 15 minutes. Okay, now we're seeing a little bit of support for Hurricane Lane coming down. Obviously, we started back here 4 hours ago or so. That is all the morning, and that is overnight. So from there, we go back, and as you can see, we're now more than half the chart is the last 4 hours. I'm going for Bolshoi Ballet, as you can see. Now we can see that once again the charts come down. Hurricane is being supported. Bolshoi is being opposed, but as you can see, it's coming in a bit. But the chart is what we're trying to show you. Now in the last 10 minutes, and we'll see now money coming in. The money's going in now at 791. So it's about 1,000 a second, maybe a bit more than 1,000 a second. So you can see the amount of money going in is accelerating. That support for Hurricane Lane was fairly short-lived, and we're seeing money coming back for the favorite. Now we can see that we're 6 minutes before the race, or supposed to be the off. We're beginning to start seeing that's where we started, as you remember. So this is the last 4.5 hours approximately. So you can see it's concertining up. The support for Hurricane Lane is still there. The favorite still went out and has come back in again. I'm hoping that that's going to go into at least 2.3 before the off. Okay, so now we're nearly 3 minutes toward the off, so I'm coming in more regularly, small intervals. See now that the amount of money going on is what, 3,000 or 4,000 a second, maybe more. We joined it here. Now we're nearly 70% of the chart is the last 4 hours, and this bit here is really the last half an hour. So you can see how it's concertinaing down. We'll see what it is like 1 minute before. So now we're 1 minute before the off, and I'm going to stop here. But you can see now, really the chart just completely changes. All this bit here was fairly steady, and now we're into the last 5 minutes. Amazing sort of movement here of the second. You would have thought it would be absolutely stable here, and now suddenly, last couple of minutes, money's drained away from that horse, and from being 7 odd, 7.0, it's now 8.6, and this is what can happen in the last few minutes. I'm hoping that the favorite will go down further, certainly in the off, but I'll come back to this recording in a minute. Okay, that was a shocker result for Adam Kirby and Adea, who I didn't fancy because he was out of the coffin box at number 1. Borsha Valley didn't find anything, but did shorten in the run, so I took the option of greening up and taking £3.55, which isn't really huge, but the amount of money on the Derby, I was probably wrong. Maybe that million that came on early was the amount, because this is nearer 5 million. So so we discounted $1 million that went on sort of anti-post. Then perhaps the million was about right for 80% in the last 10 minutes, which you saw anyway. You saw that it was going up 2, 3, 4, 5,000 a second coming into the last 10 minutes. And I hope you've seen from the charts as they developed, they get concertinaed, and you find that enough space on the chart is given to, say, 3 minutes of trading with Hurricane Lane. As much space is given to that as to say 10 hours of trading the previous day. So what I'm saying about the charts is be very wary when you're reading charts. One time you could be reading it and it looks like something's happening, but actually there's not much money going on, and therefore really changes in the prices early on in the day need to be almost ruled out, because the money is coming in the last 5 and 10 minutes, and any changes that you start to see in the last 5-10 minutes means more. Now, what I also pointed out in this video is that particularly in classics and things like that, where you've got a bit of liquidity early on. So back when there was £1 million on and I was talking about scalping, it's a great time to do it, because Hurricane Lane was very stable between 7 and 7.4, very, very stable, maybe drifting very slightly. But there was liquidity there, so your bets would have been taken. In most normal races, a couple of hours before the race, you wouldn't have very much liquidity, so your bets wouldn't be taken, but they would in this race, because there's so much more money going on. So what you find is that you in Derby and other big races, they're quite nice if you can find a horse like Hurricane Lane, which is trading in a very narrow corridor, particularly when it was slightly overpriced. Sorry, not overpriced, overweighted, which means that you're going to get your bets taken. Then Hurricane Lane was a beauty for doing some scalping, but I only got involved with Bolshoi Ballet because I've not heard the trainer and the owner be quite so positive about a racehorse. And when O'Brien only has one horse in a classic, it means that he's not spreading his chances. He believes that that horse has a really good chance. So I was very surprised Paul Ballet didn't run a lot better. In fact, it ran very badly, in my opinion. And of course, if you look at the three horses from the Godolphin stable, which was Hurricane Lane, One Ruler, and Adea, well, poor old Adam Kirby was jocked off John Leaper by Frankie Dettori. So you'd think Frankie Dettori thought John Leaper had a better chance than Adea. And Adam Kirby, who everybody's going, oh, bad luck, mate, got jocked off onto Adea, so he must be over the moon. Anyway, that's the story of the Derby. The point I was trying to make to anyone who was looking at why we think that Betfair has got it wrong is that you've got to remember that when you're reading charts, the timeline at the bottom is completely false. The timeline you're looking at is that it's days and hours at the beginning of the chart when you're getting to the last 10 minutes, and nearly half the chart gets taken up with the last 10 minutes of betting, which means that you're not really looking at the equivalent timeline at the bottom. And be very well aware of that. But Betfair has, I suppose, got it somewhat right in that if you say the bottom of the chart should reflect somewhat the amount of money that's going on to a horse over time, then 80% of the chart should be taken up by the last 10 minutes of betting. So that's the story. Be aware of it. Don't take big price changes early on in the day or the previous evening with too much than just an indication that maybe there's some stable staff and those people in the know on it. But if you do try and read it and say, oh goodness, people really fancy this Hurricane Lane because it jumped down from 11 to 1 to 11.0 to 7.0 overnight, that isn't really the case. It's an indication that someone put a bit of money on. That's all. Maybe a few stable staff put it on. And I think Hurricane Lane came third anyway, so there must have been a little bit of confidence in Hurricane Lane. Okay, I hope that helps you. Like and subscribe if you've liked this video. Become a patron if you can, and I can make more videos like this to give you more information. And good luck with all your trading. Cheers. I hope you had the winner.